Now in Senegal, we have major discoveries in terms of gas and oil. We have a gas field that we are sharing with the Republic of Mauritania. We plan to have 2.5 million tons per year LNG to export in the phase one, and also 35 million cubic feet a day for gas to power for a power plant in the north of Senegal. In the other hand, we have a 100% local gas field named Yakar Teranga, where we have around 20 TCF of gas, and where we plan to do gas to power and gas to industry, because we are planning around 150 million cubic feet a day for the national gas to power. And also we have oil fields named Sangomar, developed by Woodside, where we are planning to develop next year 100,000 barrels per day. So these are the major discoveries we have in Senegal, and we are expecting the first gas Q2 2024 and the first oil Q1 2024.
From your perspective, how concerned are you that the oil and the gas assets that have been found in Senegal in the south and in the north, shared of course with Mauritania, may end up being stranded assets, right, in the long term?
Yeah, it will not be a stranded asset like that, but what is important is how to develop the business around the oil and gas sector, how to develop the local content. We have a new law for local content where we promote local companies to develop business for local gas. But we don't want us to be 100% dependent of oil and gas. We want to continue developing the primary sector with agriculture and so on. For example, in Senegal, the war in Ukraine was affected the fertilizers and so on. So what is important is with the gas that we have, how to develop industrialization, to develop fertilizer, urea, and so on. So all the business around the oil and gas, this is where we are targeting to develop more. But in parallel, of course, the revenue will help us, in our budget. But we don't want to be dependent only to oil and gas revenue. We want to develop an oil and gas business, local content, primary sector, and also developing the services in Senegal.
Finally, what sort of policy outcomes would you like to see coming out of COP28? Because the general thrust of these events has been very anti-fossil fuels. But here we are talking about the need for the energy that our economies need to make that transition. So what sort of policy mix would you expect to see from that event in November? We
want a win-win relationship, and we are needed commitments from different parties. In Senegal, we signed the Just Energy Transition Program with G7 countries, where we committed to go up to 40% renewable in our grid by 2030. And also, for this one, we need commitment in terms of financing, in terms of de-risk financing, because as you know, Africa was not responsible of this environmental impact in the climate. So the countries that more impact the climate should invest more and should finance the decarbonization. But for me, the deal should be Africa should develop the economy, because we still have challenge for electrification, access to electricity for people in the rural area. So our energy transition will go with the industrialization of our country. So the deal should be Africa to industrialize and the developed country to decarbonize. And we should find the right partnership on that. How can we do an energy transition when we don't have access to energy? That's the question, right? So we need to help our population to have access to electricity. The developed countries are more in an ecological transition because they have full access to energy, energy security. Now they just want to make it more green. But in Africa, our challenge is first to have access to electricity, energy security, and in parallel, we have to continue to consider the climate and to develop also renewables and so on. But it should be a win-win deal and win-win relationship, considering also our criteria and our characteristic in Africa.